Welcome to Halloween and Holiday Addicts Anonymous. And this month we're going to be working on this cute little plaque of a kitty. It's called Feline Spooky. And it's I don't know, a little bit bigger than 5 by 7. I guess I could get out a ruler. Let's see. How big is this guy? Well, that's not going to help me if I don't put it on the right way. 8 by 7. Close. 8 by 7. And it has a few cutouts. The background zigzaggy thing is separate, and then you'll just glue your little guy in place here. And once we get him all painted, we'll work on our pumpkins, and we'll just have a good time with this. I'm not sure how his nose goes, but I'll figure it out on the way. So let's go ahead and get started. So I'm thinking, here again, I'm creating as we speak. So I'm thinking I'm going to paint this with Irish moss. Got to keep our Halloween colors handy, okay? And we can do this very easily if you get out a sponge. I like to use these round sponges. And sometimes when you're a lucky winner on the raffles, you get these in your gift bag. So, and I don't care that it's going to leave a little texture. That's fine with me. But it's just a little bit faster than working all those edges with a brush. So I'm going to paint this with Irish moss. And I'm going to go ahead and paint everywhere, even though the middle is going to be covered up. Just because Irish moss is like one of my favorite colors. And so I want to see a lot of it. And we'll see it again on the pumpkins and stuff. So there we go. We're almost done. See how fast that was? Much quicker than trying to paint it with a brush. It'd be even quicker if I put out enough paint. That would be really, well, I think I might have gotten away with it. All right. So we need to let this dry, and we'll give it a quick sand, and I'll be back. All right, so I have my piece, my background piece, painted with Irish moss, and I've sanded it lightly for a smooth painting surface, something I always like to do. And what we're going to do is we're going to grab a stencil. Now you can get a stencil out of your stash, anything that has like a little small design. Now, this is the mini leaf stencil, and we've used it a few times on some projects for Halloween Addicts. So if you have this one, that'd be great. If not, just pick something else, dots, whatever. And what we're going to do is we're just going to add a border around this, and we're going to stencil this on with margarita plus some moon yellow just to lighten it up a little bit. More margarita than moon yellow, okay? Just want to lighten that color up a little bit. And so I'm just going to stencil this pattern, nice, all the way around my little project. And so then what I want to do, what I want to do is go outside and put in a pool, but that's not going to happen. So what we're going to do next is float some highlighting on our edges. But for right now, I'm going to be stenciling this design around the edge, and it's not something you need to watch me do. So I'm going to be back when I'm done with this. All right, so I have the stenciling done. So now what I want to do is I want to come back and float a highlight on this outside edge. And I'm going to do that with straight margarita. I used all my margarita up, so I'm going to get some more out. So just a nice side load float of margarita on the edges, and that's just going to lighten up those edges a little bit. And here's another thing that you really don't need to watch me do. So I'm just going to float, and you can see I'm not being picky about it too much. I just want to lighten up those edges a little bit. So when I get this done, I'll be back and we'll move on. All right. So I did that shading, the highlighting around the edges with Margarita. And then I got a little ahead of myself. And I went ahead and painted the center plaque with a coat of Laguna. Now you can still see the pattern through there. So not a heavy coat, all right? So what we're going to do now is we are going to use our Punchinello. And I'm just going to add some interest to this background. You know me. I have to do it. So I'm going to start up here in the top with just a few splotches of dots. I'm going to do that with Laguna plus warm white. I want it to be a little lighter. I'm not going to go too hard on this. Just a few little splotches here and there. Okay, not too many. It got up into the lettering, and that's fine. That'll be just fine. So, and I'm very soft touch on my stencil brush because I don't want it to be real harsh. And then I'm just going to wipe that brush out, pick up some Laguna, and pick up some mermaid tail. Okay, and keep in mind you have pumpkins over here, so it doesn't have to be. You don't have to go crazy with this. But I just want to do some darker down here. And I don't go into the cat. Let's see. I could probably go more mermaid tail. If you look at it and it's not dark enough, pick up a little more mermaid tail. And I'm just adding, you know me, I like to add stuff to the background. And really only a couple places will work. All right. So the next thing we want to do, we can set our Punchinello aside. You want to get yourself out like a star stencil. And we're just going to stencil some random stars on this background. And we're going to do that with just straight warm white. I'm going to get a little closer. And here, just avoid the cat. And you'll be good. So just straight warm white. And again, it's going to be very soft. We don't want these to blare at us, okay? And I'm going to use this sorted star stencil that I have. I may have a few of them left. And but you can use any star stencil you have. Will be just fine. And again, just light on your stencil brush just to add some faint stars around our little cat. Okay, just a nice soft background. I know it's crazy soft background for a Halloween piece. What is wrong? Okay. And my pumpkins are going to be down here, but I'm still going to put a few little stars that will peek out from behind them. I think I need a couple up here. All right, so a nice soft background for this guy. It doesn't take long at all. And I think that's going to look pretty cute, actually. Let's see. Let's get our backboard and put this guy on top. Yeah, it's coming up Halloween style. We'll get some brighter colors in here too. Okay, so our cat. We want to go ahead and base in our cat. And you can base him in completely with graphite. So I'm going to base my cat in with graphite and I'll be back. All right, so I based my cat in with graphite. I just one coat because there's a lot of stuff that's going to go on top of this guy. And what I also did is I just took my chalk pencil and went over my pattern, just so I know where eyes and mouth are, chin, that kind of stuff. So if you want to take a second and do that, that'd be great. All right, so he's feeling spooky, and we're going to make him look a little, out of sorts. So I want to take a liner brush. Somewhere I have one. Okay, this is number 4. And I'm going to start giving him some scraggledy hair or fur, whatever you call it, cat hair. Well, I call it cat hair when it gets all over the couch. So I'm going to do it first just to give me a base with some graphite, just to get direction and see how I like it. So like on his body, just scraggle out some of that hair. A lot of it's going to get covered by your pumpkins, but just give him some wild, crazy, scraggly hair. You don't have to do as much as I did over there because we're going to add different colors. You can do it on his tail. So I'm working just on the side edges right now. When I go to different colors, I'll work all over his body. But you just want to scraggle him up a little bit. Don't make it a career. Let's scraggle up those ears. So I think you get the idea here. We just want him to be messy and scraggly and all out of sorts. And his whiskers are going to go everywhere. Well, not his whiskers yet, but you get the idea. It doesn't have to be perfect lines either. I mean, seriously. We're making him look weird and spooky. So that didn't take too long. You don't have to worry about his neck too much because he does have a collar on. So I want to add some darker hair. And so I'm going to get out some lamp black. And this is where I'm going to start going all over him, except like inside his ears or eyes and stuff. So get out some lamp black and thin it down. And let's just start giving him some dark. And just do it all over. Just quick and easy, okay? Not, well, I know some of you are still in that, oh, I want every hair placed just perfectly. And, okay, then this is going to take you a while. Just going to cover him with scraggly hair. It goes all different kinds of directions. Even on the tail. Ooh, he's starting to look real scraggly. So that means I must be doing something right. Just try to stay up on the tip of your liner, and that'll make it a little easier so you don't get too many blobs or anything. I'm not a big cat person. So it's amazing I'm even painting a cat. So you're filling in a little bit more of the fur area as you do this. So I'm even going to go down here into between his eyes and over his eyes. But I don't know if you can see or not, but as I'm over his eyes, I get down there. I'm going to start turning it a little bit to follow the shape of his head. And you'll be able to see that better when we do in some light fur. Turn him this way so I can do that. Gonna try to keep this simple for, no fancy brushes or any of that stuff. And his big old nose is in here. So you don't have to worry too much about that. All right. Oh, I'm liking him. So I'm going to get a gray now rather than mixed colors. So I'll be back. All right. So I got out some gray storm and I'm going to stroke hair. Some of it's going to go to the edges, but most of it is going to stay towards the center of the cat. And now you can see why you didn't have to base him in perfectly. And the more hair you put on, the faster you'll get at it. When you go up the tail, keep it kind of in the center more. I mean, it can still go off the edge, but just stroke the lighter stuff in the center more. Add some light to the ears. And then let's do his head. I'm going to keep the light above his eye. I think we're getting close to being done with this hair stuff. I'm probably going, oh, yay. Not a lot of details on this guy. All right, I think a little bit over here. Okay, I got a nice scraggly cat. So I'm going to let this dry and then we'll come back. We'll base in his ears. We'll base his little nose cut out and do some details on his eyes and his mouth. Add him some whiskers and then we can move on to our pumpkins and stuff. Well, I got a little ahead of myself again. We need to float a little bit of shading on this guy. So I'm going to come back with my flat brush and some very well blended out lamp black. I'm going to float on his neck, under his chin, even though there's no hair there, really. I'm going to float on his ears next to his head, just to separate him from his head a little bit. I was so excited to have the fur done. I just went, wow, I'm going to just paint away and forget about shading. I'm going to go under his mouth. Doesn't have to be perfect because we haven't lined his mouth on there yet. And I'm going to go up on under that eyelid, and it can go right across the eye right now because we haven't painted it in. And I think that's about it. Right now, that'll do for now. So let's go ahead and paint in his eyes with warm white. And you can just do that with a round brush or a liner. Just want to give them a coat of warm white. And you can paint in the whole thing. Don't have to avoid that circle. And again, it doesn't have to be completely opaque. It's going to start giving him some character when he gets his eyes. Alrighty. Now he has a little nose, little triangle nose, and it kind of sits in there like that, which is going to really add to his spooky too. And I think we want to go ahead and paint that with, let's go ahead with burnt orange. And while we're painting burnt orange on the nose, we can paint the pumpkins with burnt orange also. So I'm going to get out my burnt orange and paint those pieces, and we'll be back. Okay, so my pumpkins and noses are drying. I'm going to go ahead and base the inside of his ears with burnt orange also. So just a quick little coat of burnt orange in his ears. With two little triangles. I don't know that I've ever painted a cat with orange ears inside. I'm going to go ahead and paint his little collar, that little rectangle. And I'm going to do that with a purple, I believe, which of course I don't have out. So I'll go grab that, paint my little guy with it. I think it's going to be purple cow, and I'll be back. All right, since his eyes, we've got those little circles in his eyes, we're going to go ahead and base those in with purple cow also. So let's see here. Yep, there it is. They're just nice circles. And this one kind of sets down against the edge a little bit. Okay. You know what? I want to float a little bit of shading on the background around my little cat just to make him pop off a little bit. So I'm going to do that with some very well blended out mermaid tail. Just a nice soft float of mermaid tail. And you can just kind of tuck it. It'll go over that fur that you, or the cat hair that you put out, but most of it is the black, so it's not going to cover it up. And especially if you keep it nice and sheer. But that's just going to pop him off the background a little bit more than he's doing right now. And that way we can let other stuff dry. So I am bouncing all around on this guy. Story of my life lately, right? Mermaid tail is a really pretty color. I should use it more often. All right. So let's work on the pumpkins and the ears and the nose. His ears are off camera right now. I know. I'm going to go with my drywall joint tape, and I'm going to add some dots to the nose and inside the ears. And I'm going to do that with moon yellow. So just a quick little stencil of moon yellow. This is all just a process, right? So I'm just going to add a few little dots inside the ears. And yes, I did get them out onto the cat part, but a nice wet brush will just take that right away. And his nose, right? Yeah, I'm going to do his nose with that. Right, that should look cute. Maybe not. Maybe when we get his eyes done, it'll look better. I'm going to do the tall one with vertical stripes. Yeah, I like that. And the short one I'm going to do with horizontal stripes. So I'm going to turn it this way. And they don't have to be perfect. That's our theme. No perfection. Okay. Quick and easy. And I'll have these on my website because they're teeny tiny little stripes. So glad I found that. So now let's go back to our ears and our nose. I'm going to float a little bit of a highlight inside the ears and the top of the nose with moon yellow. Just a little touch. And then inside the top, now you gotta remember what the top is. Yeah, that works. Boy, I love it, and I'm not being real picky today. Okay. And then I'm gonna float a little bit of country red in the bottom of the ears and the bottom of the nose. And let's see, let's go across the bottom of that nose. Nice. Let's work on those eyes. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to add a float of very well blended out lamp black across the top of each eye. And that's going to set that eye under that eyelid or that brow or whatever it is that he's got down there. And set it kind of inside there. I'm also going to float. Going to add a float of Irish moss in the bottom of the eye. Again, blend it out really well. And just add a tint of Irish moss in the bottom of those eyes. I'm going to take a liner brush and some lamp black, thin it down a little bit, and I'm going to add a stroke. Let me get closer to his eye here. I'm going to line that top edge a little bit, just so you can see it better. And then I'm going to add a couple little black hairs in between his eyes. So let's paint his pupil with lamp black. Just a nice little black circle in the middle of that purple. And my circle's going to get bigger and bigger. So I always start out small. It's looking spooky. You could use a stencil if you wanted. I'm going to line a highlight in the top of the purple iris with Purple Cow plus Warm White. Lighter value Purple Cow. I'm just going to line that around the top. And then I'm going to line a shadow or shading in the bottom half with Diox Purple. With a smaller liner brush, we want to outline the white of the eye with lamp black, just to define it better. Really makes a difference. Just a nice little line. And then what we want to do is we want to take warm white. We can just do it with our liner brush. And we are going to add a little highlight dot inside the pupil. And then a little one kind of diagonal from that one. Okay? I know he looks so weird without a nose. Now our little nose is going to go in there. Oh, that looks much better. I want to also go ahead and outline his little purple iris with some Diox Purple, just to make that stand out a little bit more. And I think that helps a lot. And obviously it doesn't have to be a nice, perfect outline. All right. So let's line his mouth with, let's use that Gray Storm, but let's pick up a little warm white. Lighten it up a little bit. I'm just going to line his little mouth. Just a couple of little hook shapes. Let's put this on here. We need to give him some whiskers. That'll help. So he's got like 3 whiskers on each side. And you can do that with the gray storm warm white mix too. And you can make them however you want. You can make them straight or you can make them squiggly. I'm just going to give him 3 little whiskers. On each side. Cool. I'm going to line a little lamp black under his mouth just to make it stand out a little bit more. And I'm going to touch just a little float of lamp black just across the top. And that's just going to make his nose sit on top of it, okay? You could also go with lamp black at the base of each whisker. Okay, I think, let's put his nose, let's go ahead and give his nose a little highlight. I'm going to do that with warm white. Just a quick little, short little highlight line. We can do that inside his ears. A little short highlight line. Cool, we're getting him done. Alrighty, so let's go to his little collar that was painted with purple cow. Let's just line some highlighting with purple cow plus warm white through the center. Oops, could have showed you that, huh? So just a little purple cow plus warm white. And I just kind of took my liner brush and lined it through the center. And then when that's dry, we'll come back and float the outside edges with Diox purple. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and glue my nose in place. Because I like the way he looks so much better when he has his nose. I like to use Aline's Tacky Glue. Just a dot of glue. I'm going to put his little nose in place. And there. Cool. Now he looks complete. All right. So let's go to our pumpkins here. While we let that little nose dry. It'll dry pretty quickly. So our little pumpkins, of course, we are going to dry brush some highlighting on them, of course. And that's going to be with Moon Yellow. And I didn't get it out. This Moon Yellow is really globby. I should be ashamed. But it's still usable. So I'm just going to dry brush some Moon Yellow in each of the 3 sections. Not a whole lot. Don't want to cover up those stripes completely. And if you wanted to put jack-o'-lantern faces on these, you could. I opted not to. And I'm going to get out some burnt umber. And I'm going to float some shading on my pumpkins. Now you're going, what happened to the red? Well, we're just not going to do the red this time. So burnt umber. I'm going to float next to the center. So down those two sections. On both of those pumpkins. Could add a little bit more water. Get a nice softer float. Of course, my very last float is the one that goes softest, right? Okay, and I'm going to float just across the bottom. That's with burnt umber. Let's paint our little stems with Irish moss. Cute, cute. I think I can go back to my little collar now and float some Diox purple on either end. That makes a big difference. So I'm going to do my lettering. I'm going to go ahead and use my extra fine point paint pen. And I think I'm going to go ahead and turn this over just to make it a little easier on me. Give this another try. Yeah, that's better. This is just simple lettering, but you still want to take your time. So I'll probably fast forward through this. And if you want to do it with a liner brush and warm white, that's good too. Okay, so that was quick. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some little details with my 0.01 black Pigma pen. And while I let the lettering dry, I'll go ahead and add a little something to this, the back thing. And all I'm going to do is just going to kind of do a nervous little outline around the edge. So just nervous hit and miss little line that follows the edge of this piece. So when I get done with, I'm going to finish this, and I'll be back to show you the other details I add. All right, so I took my 0.01, the black Pigma pen, and what I did is I outlined the ears. I outlined the little collar. I outlined the little collar and added some little scribbled circles. I did outline the eyes again and add a few little eyelashes. I did a nervous outline on the pumpkin and on the stem. And then up here on the lettering, we'll get a little closer so you can see, I lined the pen onto the left and top of each letter just to make it stand out a little bit more. This is what happens when you forget to hit record. So then what I did is I took my Aleene's tacky glue, whatever glue you like, and I glued my little blue background board into place. I glued my pumpkins into place and my little collar. And so if you wanted to add more to the background, you could do that. But I kind of like him the way he is. And so we're going to call him done. I might add a hanger with some beads. I'm not sure. But yeah, this is our little spooky cat for the month of August. So I hope to see you next month. Thanks for joining me.